Learning Perek Beis, Halacha Aleph, Hilchos Megillah. The Rambam says, "Hilchos Megillah mafreya lo yotza." If you read the Megillah backwards, technically, we'll see how as we go along. So let's go down to the Peirush on the bottom. Hilchos Megillah mafreya, not in order. Lo yotza. You're not yotza the kriya. Kol v'shochach. If he read and he jumped over a part, posuk echad, he forgot one posuk. V'kol posuk sheini loy. He read the posuk that's next to it, and then v'chozer v'kol posuk sheshochach. Then he reads that which he forgot. V'chozer v'kol posuk shlishi. Then he read the third posuk without saying the second one again. Lo yotzo. He's not yotze v'nei shekor posuk echad lemafreya, because the second posuk was read before the first one. And the Magen Mishnah cites a Mishnah in 17a, and also the Gemara 18b, that if you read it jumping back and forth, it's no good. And the Rif cites the Yerushalmi Sirusen, means that he reads a posuk and he jumps to the second posuk, meaning two away, and then he reads the third one, and then he comes back, and in other words, he does it without an order. Like what does he have to do? He goes back to the second posuk, and he continues on and reads from there again the third posuk, which he had read before the second posuk again, and then continues on. As the Gemara says, if you left out a posuk, you shouldn't say I'll finish it and I'll read that posuk, but you have to read it in order. Now we'll go to Halacha Beis. Perek Beis Halacha Beis. The Rambam starts off. Motza tzibur shekor chetzio. We found a tzibur that read half of it. Lo yema ekro chetzio ha'achroin. Yema tzibur. I'll read the second half with the tzibur. Ve'echzer ve'ekro chetzio arishon. And then I'll read the first half. I heard already half. Shezeh koyer l'mafreya. This is also considered reading l'mafreya. Ala koyer mitchila v'atzoif. Ala seder. You have to read the whole thing according to the order. We'll go down now to the Peirush. And the Magen Mishnah cites Megillah 18b. Kol v'shomat, if you read it and he waited. Chozer v'kol, then he continued. Even if he waited the amount of time that it would take to read the whole Megillah, as long as he keeps on reading, he doesn't have anything else that he's doing with it, he can do so. The Magen Mishnah cites Megillah 18b. There are those who say that if you wait too long to finish everything, it's considered a hefsek, and you have to go back to the beginning. But the Rif says that even if you waited more from the completion of the whole thing, he's yotze. Now, what happens if you read and you waited and you read? That goes Maimonides says this is called Korah Siruyan. And he brings Ramuna B'Shem Rav Yudin says that even B'Sirugin, if you waited long enough to complete the whole thing, you have to go back to the beginning. Meaning, if you waited in between from the beginning to the end. There's a machlokes in Amoraim where the halacha is like Ramuna. Rabbi Abaye is of the opinion that according to the Rav, the halacha is not like Ramuna. The Shmuel, the halacha is like Ramuna. Amar Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef said, Nekoit Rabbi Yebiyotcha. You should keep that which Abibi said in your hand. The Hilchos says Kerabi Yisura. We know that when Rav and Shmuel disagree, if it has to do halacha that has not monetary, halacha is like Rav. So he says you're yotze. But Shmuel, if it has to do with money, the halacha is like Shmuel. And therefore the halacha is like the Rav. Therefore the Rambam and the Riv say the halacha is like Rav, that even if you waited in order to complete the whole thing, you do not go back to the beginning. You continue from where you stopped. And so Rabbeinu Simcha says in the name of Rabbeinu Hanano, the halachos gedolos and sefer mitzvahs, not like the shiltus and sefer Yereim, that they say that you have to, if you waited to finish it, you would have to go back to the beginning. We'll go down to the Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch Paskins, if he read it jumping, that means that he stopped and he waited, and then he began from where he left off. Even if he waited the amount of time, let's say it takes a half hour to read the Megillah, and he waited a half hour, he's Yotzei. The Mishnah Berurah adds that if he waited because he was inadvertently so, let's assume he passed out or he had to go to the restroom, then he goes back to the beginning, just like Kriya Shema, but he shouldn't make a second brocha. That's what the Mishnah Berurah says. The Ramah adds that even if he spoke in the middle, he doesn't have to go back to the beginning. However, it's not correct to do so. It's not appropriate if somebody speaks in the middle. In Sivov, Machon brings down a Kor Megillah Mafreya Lo Yotzo. If somebody is Kor Megillah Mafreya Lo Yotzo, Kor Posik Echod, if he read one posik and he jumped over the next posik, he read the third posik, and then he went back to the second posik, he's not Yotzei because he didn't read it in order. What should he do? He should start from the second posik and continue on. Goes Maimonides cites Rabbi Yehuda ben Yitzchok. You shouldn't stop even the breath between posik to posik. Boy, that's hard, huh? I guess we should tell it to some of our Koros. Tzemach goin cholik. How can you not stop with the breath? HaKoros HaMegillah al Peh Lo Yotzei. Now, Halacha, Perek Beis Halacha Gimel, it says if somebody reads the Megillah orally, without reading, looking inside, you're not Yotzei. So you have to look inside, just like by Kriyas HaTorah, not Yotzei without reading inside. We look in the Peirush. Mishnah cites the Mishnah in 17a. Now, Haloye, somebody who doesn't speak Hebrew, only another language, like English or French, and he heard the Megillah read in Hebrew. It was read from a Hebrew Megillah, which is what we have. Even though he doesn't comprehend what's being read, he's Yotzei. Also, if it was written in Greek in their times, he's Yotzei, even though he doesn't understand Greek. Even if the person reads Hebrew, if he heard Greek, is Yotzei. The Maggid Mishnah cites the Mishnah in Megillah 17a. According to the Gemara Megillah 18a, Ram and Shmuel both say that Laz Yevoni, that the language of Greek, in other words, tell me, Amelech made them force them to translate all the Kisvei Kodesh to Greek, and therefore the translation was perfect, and therefore it was kosher for everyone. But today you could not do that with English because the translation is not a perfect translation. As you see, different people translate it differently. But in their times, you could be Yotzei, just like somebody who reads it in Hebrew. For people that don't understand Hebrew, they fulfill their obligation of hearing the Megillah. But the Mishnah says that one fulfills his obligation with another language is talking about if somebody doesn't understand Hebrew, doesn't understand Greek, he understands English, and there's nobody to read it in Hebrew, and they read it in English, then you're Yotzei the Megillah, because there's a concept of Pirsumei Nissa, of knowing what took place. Lecha Mishnah cites in what's true that in Perek Aleph, we write Halacha Tes, Rambam writes, today the Greek that they spoke then is different than the Greek you speak today. And therefore, the Rif doesn't mention Rabbi Shmuel that somebody reads the Megillah that's written in Yevonis Yotzei, because we don't understand that Greek. No one in the world does. The Rosh writes that the Rif is of the opinion that Rabbi Shmuel said it according to Rab Shimon ben Gamliel. The Halacha is not like Rab Shimon ben Gamliel, and that's why you're not Yotzei. The Mishnah asks a question that Rabbi Shmuel are of the opinion like Rab Shimon ben Gamliel, if there's no one disagreeing, the Halacha should be with them, and therefore he says that would need deeper thought to say why the halacha is not like them. But since no one understands that Greek anymore, therefore you're not yoitzer hearing it in the Greek of that period.